What is up, everybody? Hey, this is Ryan. Welcome back to our Reflections podcast. And hey, I heard some parenting advice the other day that I absolutely loved. Now, you might be on here and say, I'm not a parent, but don't tune me out just yet. Maybe you'll be a parent someday, or you can help others who might be parents or will be parents, but this is just great advice. But I want to tell a story first before I give you the actual advice. But a couple years ago, I was coaching baseball. My son Logan played for a team, and it was like summertime, and there was a dad who was an assistant coach of mine, great guy, and he was telling me, he was kind of complaining one night. He's like, oh yeah, my son, and this time they were like 13, I think. He's like, my son all summer just sits around and plays video games all day long. He goes, it wasn't the same as when we were kids, when we were out on the baseball field playing baseball or out playing frisbee or hide and seek. And he goes, so all he does is play video games all day long. And I said, oh, well, why don't you just turn it off the TV for him, or turn off his PlayStation or whatever it was, or like take it from him. He goes, oh no, I could never do that. He'd be so mad at me. I was like, so? Like, dude, you're his dad. You're not his buddy. Like, your job, that's kind of part of the job, is when your kids get mad at you. Like, you can't be afraid of that. And I realized, oh, this kid was kind of running the show in many ways, and whatever he wanted to do, the dad would let him do because the dad was too afraid to say no. And what was happening was the kid was kind of becoming this lazy video gamer who was kind of rude to people. And that was why. So now here's the advice that I heard recently, and this is great. Most of my kids are grown. I've got 2 kids in college, and I've got 2 in high school, but it's so great. And this woman, I don't know who it was. I wish I could give her credit, but I can't. She said, listen, you can be friends with your kids either in the first half of their life or the second half of their life, but not both. In other words, like when they're like 0 to 20, that's not really the first half, but like the first chunk. You can be friends with them when they're 0 to 20 or when they're 20 on. And here's why. Because if you're friends with them when they're 0 to 20, if your goal is to be that kid's friend and to be like one of their peers or to be a friend with them when they're 12 or 8 or even 5, you will raise a kid who's not that fun to be around when that kid is 30. Because all the things that you do, like this kid, if you let your kid, kind of be a peer, be a friend, rather than a parent when they're younger, then they will learn bad habits. They will think that they're the one in charge. They will not learn how to hear the word no. They will think that you're their friend. And then when they're older, you probably won't want to hang out with them because they're going to be kind of nasty, you know what I mean? Whereas if you parent them from the ages of 0 to 20, probably 0 to 15, let's be honest, then you will instill in them these ways of being that make them enjoyable to be around when they're 20 to however old they get. So you can be their friend either in those first 20 years or the rest of their life. You can't do it in both of them, which makes you think of this other thing that Jordan Peterson, he's a very well-known psychologist who wrote a few books, and one of his rules for life is, I love it, it's so funny. It says, don't let your kids do things that make you not like them, which is hilarious because without pointing fingers, we all know somebody who lets their kid do things that make a bunch of folks not like them, Like, the kid who is just doing, just things like, what are you doing? And I love kids, but sometimes there are kids who are in communal settings, they will just do things that other adults, it makes them not like them, you know what I'm saying? Whether it's, I don't know, if they're rude or if they are whatever, you can imagine all the things. And so the idea is, as a parent, part of your job is to help them not do that so they can be more, accepted into society, which is actually not a bad thing. I'm not saying just do as society does. I don't mean that, but to learn sort of the social norms about how to behave as a young kid. And part of the parent's job is to provide boundaries and guidelines and rules and regulations. And they're a kid. They don't know any better. You have to teach them how to be an adult. And only you can do that. Only you can do that. But their peers can't do that. They don't need more friends. They've got plenty of friends. They need an adult who can help them know what it means and what it looks like to assimilate into adulthood. So they need an adult who can teach them how to be an adult. And being their friend when they're younger doesn't work. Because if you do that, then you will raise a kid who nobody likes when they're much older. So there you have it. So my encouragement for you parents or would-be parents or wannabe parents or uncles or aunts or godparents or neighbors of kids, help those kids to know what it means and it looks like to grow up into an adult. Do it lovingly and caringly, but provide boundaries and borders for that kid. Help them to hear the word no, know what it means. And if you're a parent, be a parent. You don't need to be their friend. Be their friend when they're older. That's way easier, too, if you've raised them in the right way. So there you go. All right, love you guys. Peace. Hey, if you enjoy this show, I'd love to have you share it with some friends. And don't forget, you are always welcome to join us in person at Central in Elk River at 8:30, which is our liturgical gathering, or at 10 o'clock, our modern gathering. Or you can check us out online at clcelkriver.org. Peace.